with climbing, there's the speed climbing.
Yep.
This is where I was like, there's really a lot of parallels.
There's many.
Speed climbing. There's like bouldering, problem solving, which is sort of like our skills challenges. And then there's sport climbing.
Yep.
And
long routes with ropes.
Thank you.
Yep.
And like, of course, there was, you know, when the Olympics actually unfolded with climbing, I know that all athletes had to compete in all 3 events, and it was kind of like an amalgamation of their scores.
Yep.
And I don't know where they're at now, but I know that they were heading in a direction where it's like they're kind of trying to get those disciplines their own medal set.
Yeah.
Instead of like having these kind of weird things where it's like, this is the best climber in the world, but the whole community kind of feels a little differently about it.
Yeah.
You know, at least with the Olympics. I mean, and again, I've talked about this a number of times, but like you said, for some people, the epitome of climbing will never happen inside an Olympic competition.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't matter. It's too much of an art form. They're going to look to the new routes or the new ways and styles of climbing to get inspired. They're not the same.
Yeah, there's actually been
and it's okay, but
small movement within the climbing community to distinguish between rock climbing and plastic climbing.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Their palates are unrefined.
Right.
These plastic touchers.
Yeah. So, and plastic, maybe that's the wrong material, but you know, to distinguish between if you're climbing in a gym on man-made holds, that's not actually rock climbing. And there is some to that. There are people who really, and again, a crossover to parkour, there are people who their passion, and this is where my son has shifted to, is really being outdoors, finding or trying these routes that are out there and pushing your body to see what harder things you can come up with. And as a part of that, the gym can be a tool to help you just developing agility, strength, and overall fitness to do the outdoor stuff. And I think there are a lot of people like that in parkour where, you know, the ultimate goal is things you want to get done outside, but the gym can be a tool towards getting that. And same thing, like maybe coaching in the gym is a way to help make money to pursue this passion that you've got for doing it outside the gym. So there are a lot of crossovers there. But in terms of the being in the gym, it used to be before pre-Olympics that there were the 3 disciplines in climbing, and people generally especially at the really high levels tended to get into a specific discipline. So maybe you were a really great boulderer and would possibly try out sport, or vice versa. And then we had speed kind of at this standalone. People who did speed, it's a completely different thing. It is just completely different if you haven't seen it. I know you have.
Yeah.
It's a
standardized course.
It's a standardized course.
Like practice the same course and just as effort as you can get inside. See if you can get a perfect run to the top and, you know, under whatever it is.
Yeah. I compare it to sprinting in the Olympics.
Yeah.
The track doesn't change. The distance doesn't change. It's just how far can you push your body to do it the fastest. Yeah. And then the given of any given day, you know, trip, you don't get sick the night before or whatever, you know, so you're playing that roll of dice. So in that way, speed is completely different. People specialized in it. They practice on the route. They study the route, you know, they don't even think about it because you don't have time in I think we're at 5 seconds-ish on the fastest speed route right now. And I say that's sort of like if you're getting towards the style and tricking aspect of towards parkour, you know, but then you've got the speed and skill over here. So when it went to the Olympics and they said, we're going to give 1 medal and it's going to be an all around and every athlete has to compete in all 3, a lot of people were like, oh crap,
guess I got to try that speed course
and get good enough at it.
So it's not going to just decimate my other, like, actually exemplary skills.
Yeah, and then there were speed climbers who were the best in the world at speed climbing, who all of a sudden had to go start trying to do bouldering and sport to be able to get through those levels.
Which, in a way, I mean, I know there's probably a lot of people that were super pissed about it, but as somebody who doesn't really have any stake in the game, it's kind of like a nice, you know, and I got a barrel of things I don't like about the Olympics.
Yeah.
But I think that's actually And this, just to make the exalted version of it, which is like, it's kind of beautiful that they had to kind of like appreciate some of the other people's passions in the community.
For sure.
Because we all do that in parkour too, where it's like, I'm the parkour dude. I don't really do flips and twists.
Yeah.
But then you're missing out on all the flips and twists, and it's harder to relate, and you don't identify with those people as much. And then if you're forced to get into it, you might actually enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think some exposure.
I don't like being forced to do anything. I'm just saying, like, if you want to try to take the whatever nicest version of it and try to absorb it, that's one way to look at it.
I think some exposure can be great. I have a lot of concerns about it, and they are changing it. So my understanding is for the next Olympics, there will be 2 medals awarded for climbing. So there will be a bouldering and sport combined, and then speed will be a standalone, which I think could be better. One of my concerns about the combined medal approach, and it would be my big concern doing a combined medal approach if parkour ever went to the Olympics, which I'm not necessarily an advocate for. But it's so tiring and taxing on the body for these athletes also to have to, you look at, I use last year SPL1 as a good example, Jared Ludy, who would be sort of a pinnacle for us of if we had a 3-way combined, ended up dropping out of, I believe it was skill, and just competing in 2 where he had planned on competing in 3. And we had a couple other athletes that ended up doing a similar thing. It's so taxing to compete in all 3 in an event and not get hurt and put out all the energy for each one. And so that's one of my numerous concerns about combining them.
Yeah. And I mean, again, and then as now the person that is invested emotionally and otherwise, I would be, very put off by the idea of like, well, you need to compete in these 3 events if like you're not even interested in doing style. I mean,
right.
Actually, as somebody who doesn't care about competition, I just know myself back then. That's how I would have felt about it. Now I'd be like, whatever.
Speed, right?
Yeah, my forte was speed. I did some skill competitions. I did compete in style once just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
But it was like just because Dante needed
yes.
It was like a partner year, and it was like I'll be your partner. Okay. You're not gonna win with me on your
carry
team,
me,
but
right?
yeah. But at least we got to have some fun.
Yeah.
And that was all good. But
yeah,
it's tricky.
Yeah, there aren't perfect answers for it right now, and there are some people who are pushing really hard to get parkour into the Olympics as soon as they can. That would probably not be my stance. Personally, I'm more of a I don't think we know who we are well enough yet to push for being in the Olympics. Many other sports, by the time they're getting to the point where they're going to the Olympics, have well-established national governing bodies for each country for their sport and have fleshed out an international competition circuit and have an established international competition. And we're not anywhere near that.
Yeah. And
whether you keep FIG in or not.
Yeah. With climbing, where were they when they got adopted? Like, because obviously you were in that scene. Like,
I was there. We had USA Climbing had been going for years, running national competitions for youth and adults. We had a pretty set. Now, USA Climbing is and I really love this about that organization, and it's one thing I think USPK is going to strive to do, is it's a responsive, flexible organization. There were changes made every year. As much as possible, you try not to make changes during the season because that can throw people off who have come into a season with a certain expectation. But you look back on the season, what went well, what didn't go well, where's the room for improvement? And so we had years of running national level competition and had an established youth circuit to nationals, an established adult circuit to nationals, an established collegiate circuit. We were then funneling athletes up to the IFSC, which had years of running international circuits with the athletes from the different countries. And I'm going to guess maybe even 10 years of that level of formed, thoughtful international competition before they were in the Olympics. And it was still like, holy cow, what are we doing?
And it was still like clusterfuck, and people were like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And all this. So